Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Being Spiritual on SPTV UK. Sorry that we've started a little bit later than originally scheduled. It's 8:30 on a Friday. Happy Friday to you all. Happy Friday to you, Jeffrey Hewitt, my special guest this evening, and happy Friday to our producer, Richard. Sorry for the technical problems, folks, and sorry that we've gone in a little bit late, but thank you for joining us now. What it hopes to be an uplifting show. This is Being Spiritual. We'll be talking spiritualist philosophy. I've got a special guest tonight, Jeffrey. I'll be asking him a couple of questions, a little bit about his mediumship and his sort of spiritualist journey, and a little bit about his book. And then we're going to be giving out some readings. And you've got the opportunity to ask us anything. Anything spiritual goes. You can ask us some questions, and you'll get a blended opinion of both me and Jeff as we attempt to answer your questions this evening. But yeah, special welcome to all of you. Terry Louise joins us live tonight in the chat on YouTube. If you want to participate in the show, and we do encourage that, it's a live and interactive show. Just drop us a couple of comments to let us know where you're watching the show from tonight. When we're doing the mediumship, remember, don't feed us any information. Never feed a medium information. But it's nice to know where you're watching the show from tonight, and we'll do a little hello like we just did for Terry. And thank you, Terry, for jumping into action today and helping with some of the technical problems. Chris Rees joins us from Wales. Hiya, Chris. Welcome to you. Jeff will do the next hello.
Hi, Phil, our friend Phil.
Daddy Ray Robinson, he says, yeah, lost it again, but Dad has found it. We're now going live on YouTube and Facebook. Alison from Ontario, Canada. Good evening to you, Alison. And I say Jeff will do the next one again. We'll rotate between.
Hello, from Ireland, from the Emerald Isle.
Do a couple more hellos, folks. Natasha, wow. Hello, everybody. Hi here, Natasha. Welcome to the show this evening. We're pleased that a few of you have been able to join us a little bit later than originally promised.
And hello, Helen. That looks like a nice copper. Lovely to have you here.
Thanks, Helen.
Yep, great.
Let's do a couple more hellos, folks, and then we'll get on with the show. So if you're participating on Facebook, again, just follow the live stream and participate in the show by commenting in the chat. But please don't send stars. Stars is a sort of a monetized version of Facebook, which SPTV and we don't benefit from. SPTV is free. It's 100% free, so no need to send stars this evening. But good evening, Joanne Ripper says, hello, Ash and Richard and Jeff. Hope you're all well. Wondered if you were coming on watching from Suffolk. Yep, we are here now. I'm pleased to be here for the next hour or so, Joanne.
Stacey, hello.
And Stacey gets in there straight away with the first question. Yeah, she's asking how long should you wait after a person passes for mediumship. So we will answer that, Stacey, as you got in with the first question. I'll give you the first reading. I'm going to be also doing a bit of a chat with Jeff. So we'll leave your question on screen and we'll come to that first. But Jeff, good evening to you, my friend. Thanks for joining us on the show tonight. Jeff, I feel blessed to have had you in my spiritual life for quite a long time. I've obviously been brought up in spiritualism at Wimbledon, but you've been a big part of the spiritualist family at Wimbledon and Hatbridge for a while now.
Indeed, indeed. Through your grandfather, when I pretty much first started, or not long after I started doing churches, and then I started serving Wimbledon. And of course, being a gardener, Derek loved having me there so that I could get in the memorial garden at the back.
Absolutely. So you're a very talented professional landscape gardener as well as clairvoyant sort of psychic medium. How long have you been doing mediumship?
I've been working medium for 15 years plus.
Fantastic. And you've got a little bit of an accent. I know you're from, but where have you got roots across the world, Jeff?
Roots firmly in Tasmania.
Tasmania,
yeah, lovely, I wasn't born there, but I grew up there.
Yeah, and you've worked over there, I believe, as a medium as well, and I think in Australia.
I have. That's right. That was primarily because where my mum lives, they happen to have a psychic fair. So I contacted them and said, "Can I work?" And they were like, "Great." And now, usually, when I go back once a year, it's the same time as the fair, so I'm really lucky, and I made some new friends out there at the same time, which has been great.
Fantastic. And as well as being, a talented gardener and medium, you're also an author. You've got a book coming out.
Ah, I have. Yeah, it's coming out in Amazon in about 2 weeks,
And what's the name
and
of the book?
it's called Make Mine a Medium.
Make Mine a Medium. I've seen the draft cover for that. It looks very, very sharp.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
looking forward to getting you to sign my copy when I can get it on Amazon.
amazing. Yeah. Well,
Thank
I
you.
just hope it's a good read.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. I'm pleased you joined us tonight. As well as serving our churches in our divine services and doing special evenings of mediumship, you've also presented and led workshops for us at the churches and our spiritual and psychic weekend retreats. And again, I think you've been working as part of our weekend retreats and our sort of life after death promotion sort of family, probably for around the same time.
Pretty much, yes, because I remember when your grandfather did them at Sand Bay, and I did a few there, and really great memories.
Sandbag, great venue. And Richard, our producer, SPTV UK producer, had spiritual connections beforehand. And actually, I came across some of the DVDs, Richard, that you produced at Sandbag at one of our spiritual psychic weekends.
Oh.
I think probably about 15 years ago. We've got them at church. Really? Richard's saying he came across the same DVD. So the universe obviously wanting them to get them back out and put them in the DVD player. So I'll have a good look through that. But just looking at the cover, I was looking at some friends that are no longer with us in this earthly existence, now with us in the spirit world. People like Jim Tucker, used to be a fantastic shamanic guy and lead. And the odd thing was that this week we've been tidying up Hatbridge Church, and I actually came across one of these shamanic journey sticks and a bow and arrow which he had made. I think a very talented guy. So yeah, some fond memories of the spiritual and psychic weekends. And Jeff, I'm really pleased you've come to join us on the show tonight. I know you're leading a mediumship workshop for us at Wimbledon Spiritualist Church this autumn winter for people watching on the show a little bit closer to home.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tonight, we're going to answer your questions, folks, and we're going to give you some examples of mediumship. We might do a bit of spiritualist mediumship, might do a bit of psychic. I might draw a couple of cards. We might do some colours. Jeff, I've seen work with all sorts of different tools. I've had readings from sand from Jeff, and water and imprints and flowers and other tools. So really some wonderful things. Animal totems was another workshop I really enjoyed as well when we learned about the power of sort of healing. So Stacey got in there with the first question about how long should you wait after a person passes for mediumship, and I'll get Jeff's opinion as well, because it might be slightly different, but in my opinion there is no exact amount of time. I believe that this incarnation, after that point of conception from our parents, once we incarnate, we leave that place I call heaven and the spirit world, and we have an earthly experience. We are a soul and a personality clothed in flesh. And after that change that our body goes through that we call death, that personality continues unchanged back home to that place I call heaven, the spirit world. And once you're there, if you want to communicate, you have the opportunity to do so. It's a little bit like remembering how to do it. Imagine that you've got a walkie-talkie. You suddenly find yourself in heaven. First of all, you've got to believe that you can communicate back with the living. So depending on the earthly beliefs you had, it might take you a while to be sort of inducted back to heaven to remember how it all works. But you need to then work out how to use your walkie-talkie, how to get your messages across. For someone that is, say, practicing spiritualism and understands there's a life after this life, and understands that concept of mediumship, they could do it immediately. Equally, there was someone like my wife's grandfather who didn't really believe in much, but believed in something greater than himself. And within minutes of him transitioning to the spirit world, still communicated. I've also known spiritualists that have been spiritualists all 80 years of their life that don't want to communicate and don't. So there's no exact rule and exact science, but if you want to communicate with someone, you have to remember that most mediums aren't DJs. They can't take requests. They can't bring forward a specific communicator. It is up for your communicator to come forward. I have found that often when you dedicate something in your earthly life to them, maybe something around unconditional life in service to another, and you dedicate that moment to someone in the spirit world, sometimes they do come a little bit closer to you, looking through photos and memories, and then when those memories become more vivid, perhaps in the spirit world, they're closer to you and they may influence the medium. But Jeff, how would you answer this one?
I would agree with what you say, Ashley, but I also think how long should you wait? I think it's until, if you're grieving, it's until you feel comfortable that the time is right. And then, as Ashley says, it's also down to the spirit person, when they feel comfortable, or whether the conditions are right, or as he says, it's learning the walkie-talkie. When I've lost somebody near and dear, I didn't want a message, because I didn't want to turn the person into a message, if you know what I'm saying, rather than all the memories that I had. And that, of course, depends on the strength that the person comes through, whether the medium brings them back alive, which, if it's somebody who's very near and dear, you want them to be brought back alive. And that's not always the case, because sometimes it's as I say, the conditions might not be right, or the medium might not be on the same wavelength. There's all sorts of, it's a whole myriad of things. So I'd say when it feels right, and don't be disappointed if, say, you go to a medium wanting to hear from that person and someone else comes through, and you'll be thinking, why didn't they come through? But quite often that can be a forerunner to the person coming through. It's helping to build up those spiritual links, and it's helping to build up, say, the battery. And sometimes it might take 2 or 3 times before the person that you want to hear from comes through. But everything happens for a reason, and you can't force anything. So I would say go with the flow.
Yeah, nice way of answering it. So, folks, if you're joining Being Spiritual for the first time, you've got an idea about how this show works. It's interactive. You ask us a question, you'll get a bit of a blended opinion, and then, unless you say otherwise, we will treat your question as consent to give you a little quick mini read. And Stacey, I drew a card for you. I'm using my medieval deck, which is one of my favorite decks to use. And this card, the Liar, is like a jester. And if you can imagine that sort of court jester, and you've got to think here that in this card, you've got the jester sort of coming forward. And for me, that is often a sign of something that we can see hidden in plain sight is perhaps deceiving us. And there might be this element of you feeling deceived at the moment, or that you've even been deceiving yourself. But there's this possibility that a scenario, a person around you right now, you have been deceived, you are deceiving yourself, or that there is then this element of deception. The card symbolizes sort of falsification, not true. The card symbolizes disguise, cheating, sort of malice or callous intent, and the opportunity of like wearing a mask, someone pretending to be something they're not. And I think, Stacey, when I drew this card for you, I think you would understand this as a person. I had this real sense of a male personality in a previous chapter of your life. And I want to say chapter because I feel like it was the last chapter, and that you're in transition. You'd understand this element of deception, of someone damaging that relationship of trust. It was certainly a male energy that I had. And you understand this person, a friendship, relationship, partnership, this man in your life, previous chapter, toxic, damaging that relationship of trust, pretending to be something that they weren't quite. And the card was about going forward, about you seeing that, about you seeing the sort of truth. And I had this very much of a past tense with you, Stacey, that you'd understand why the card was sort of coming up, is to recognize that you had seen that, and that you're into a new chapter. This was about going forwards, onwards, and rising. So, Stacey, I hope you understand why that card was drawn for you. Jeff, anything you'd like to add for Stacey?
Stacey, this might well be symbolic. I wondered if there were any connections with the United States. I kept seeing a dollar note, and you know they have the pyramid, and I felt a pyramid, you might understand that in some context as well. And with the pyramid, it can be power as well. And I feel like you are very much working on yourself, staying centered and sitting in your own power, i.e. under your own pyramid as such. I thought there might be interests with ancient Greece as well, because I think in the American dollar they've got the eye, they've got an eye, but also I'm drawn to the Eye of Ra, so pyramid, Eye of Ra. So we've got sort of Egyptian energies connecting there with you. So right. I hope you can understand that.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that.
Can I just also add that you've let some walls a bit on the same vein of Ashley, and I can see a wall crumbling, but it's a positive, good thing, because it means it's the end of an old chapter, and you've taken down some constraints where you've had a wall up, and now it's a new chapter, and you're looking at things a lot differently than you used to, say 5 or 10 years ago. Your mindset's really quite changed a lot. So that's what I have to say. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Stacey, I hope that all makes sense. So get your questions coming into us now, folks. If you haven't already done so, please do like this stream. Let's keep this channel 100% free. Let's build that wonderful congregation that we have. And you can also do us a favor by sharing the stream, both on Facebook and YouTube, across your social media channels. So we're a little bit late starting today, so we might have missed a few people. So sharing it on your wall, giving it a like is a really helpful way of getting this across. Julie, who obviously is our friend from Wimbledon, a florist, also a professional in that field. She asked you, what is your book about, Jeff?
What is the book about? Well, essentially, it's a memoir, I'm afraid to say. Somebody said, oh, there's enough mediums have written their memoirs, and I guess they probably have. But I've tried to make it an interesting read, and it's my journey from when I started to have experiences and my step by step from having experiences, then joining a circle, questioning it, thinking, is this really a road that I want to go down? And spirit encouraging me bit by bit. And the usual story, you know, when you want to pull away, they draw you back in. And I've been on lots of interesting trips in my life, so I've added journeys, so I've added those in as well, by and large. And then, you know, I was a student for a very long time, a lot longer than most people, I would say. And then I did my first DEM, so it was all very exciting. And then I did the churches, you know, all the usual steps, and which has all been very exciting for me because I've dedicated so much, apart from my gardening work, also working with flowers, Julie. I'm a little bit like the Robinsons. I've dedicated so much of my life to spirit. So there we are. I hope it's a good read.
Thank you, Julie, for answering that question. I did draw a card for you, Julie. Obviously I know you, but I just drew this card here, which is the sun. Now I know that in all creations of life, Julie, the sun and his important parts of flowers coming to life. We got within spiritualism, we talk about the sunflower and so on, interface the sun and sort of moving forward. But I want to talk about the opportunity that the sun provides us with, sort of repetition. You know, there's that element of Groundhog Day, the sun rising in the east and setting in the west and setting us up for those 24 hours on that sort of earthly experience. But you'd understand that sense of consistency being disrupted for you quite now. I do know you, Julie. I don't know if you are a creature of habit. I'm being told you are a creature of habit, but the consistency element, someone's thrown a spanner in the works and you're sort of out of pattern and out of sync. And this card being drawn for me is just to remind you that the sun will rise again in the east tomorrow morning and set again in the west. There's this opportunity to turn and face that light like you do. You're a fantastic light worker. You do a lot of brilliant work within spiritualism as well. But anything quick for Julie, Jeff?
Very quickly, Julie, I felt maybe the energy's been a bit low of late. And so I want to sort of treat myself, pamper myself a little bit, and I feel you'll bounce back to your old self, which is that sort of vivacious, bubbly person that we know.
Thank you. And thank you, Julie, for asking the question. So you can ask us absolutely anything, folks, anything spiritual about Jeff's journey. Brenda Walker comes in and said, if someone passes and takes new life contact, does the spirit stay and meet others who they know will be transitioning? So just breaking down that question, I've got dyslexia. So as a neuro diverse people, I sometimes read these things wrong. But I think you're saying if someone passes, so you know, human being, they've passed to the spirit world. When you say takes new life contact, does the spirit stay? So are you talking about like a reincarnation, Brenda? Are you talking about them reincarnating again, and whether or not they meet with others? So I'm going to answer that question as if it is that. Do come in and clarify if I've got the wrong end of the stick, and Jeff might sort of get a slightly different interpretation. But the way I understand it is that reincarnation, I believe, is possible. Not everyone does reincarnate. Some people do it tens of thousands of times. But at that point of conception, you make a decision as a spirit being to become a human being. And then over the next 6 months of the body interfacing and creating like the emotional, physical sort of self, yes, reincarnate. Thank you, Brenda, for confirming that. I believe that around the 6-month point of the baby developing, the actual personality joins. And as the personality joins that baby, the next 3 months, you know, merging with sort of mum's consciousness is then born. Now, at the end of that life, the life and the personality continues after that change that we call death. Now, I think that as a personality, most of my mediumship tells me that people tend to hang around in the spirit world, even if they are going to reincarnate, for a second or third generation. They quite like meeting people up in heaven that they've seen pass, and then they wait again for maybe 1 or 2 generations of family to come and meet them. And they often do that, and then it's that personality which chooses to reincarnate again. So I believe that's absolutely possible, and I've had confirmation that people have done that. And when I've taken people through past life regression, you know, for example, if Jeff and I were to do a regression and Jeff was to regress me or vice versa, it might be if I was regressing Jeff that he would reveal other times that he as a being has incarnated, and he can tell me about the personalities and perhaps the earthly experiences happened. Now I'm going to throw in the element of chaos. I think that's the most likely scenario. What I also know from the spirit world is that our personality has a higher self. Okay, like my glass of water, you could say that this glass is the vessel, like the human body is the vessel to clothe the personality, and that the water inside is the energy of the personality. Now, after the water goes, we know we can't destroy the energy. So the vessel, the glass, the human body goes, the water goes back to the great source. Okay, it rejoins that spirit world. Does it truly resemble the identical amount of water each time it goes into another vessel, or is that water part of a bigger lake of life? And actually, there are bits of the lake of life experiencing different things through different people. I also know, and I know this from 1999 sort of GCSE science, that energy can be in more than one place at the same time. Particles, if you like, of energy can communicate in different places and at different times and still be connected, and there's an element of intelligence there. So if at the crudest level of protons and particles of energy, if they can be in more than one place at the same time, and our personality and our body is energy, then I think it's also possible that there's an element of our personality staying in heaven while another part of us perhaps goes and chooses a conception to incarnate again. So I think that's also possible. But I'm not a scientist, and I've only got my 1999 GCSE science from school. And they did the best possible job at Stanley, but I don't quite get all the metaphysics. So the way that my guides help me understand it is, Ashley Robinson, you've incarnated as Ashley Robinson. You'll live a life as Ashley Robinson. The personality of Ashley Robinson will continue to have that identity in the spirit world. You can recreate a body without any of the imperfections, if you like, but you don't need a physical body, and you can exist. That personality continues unchanged in the spirit world. But there's a pathway of progression open to Ashley Robinson, and Ashley Robinson might be part of something much bigger. That is the earliest sort of way I understand it in plain English. So, Brenda, I hope that makes sense from my point of view. But Jeff, quite a big subject now. We could spend hours talking about the concept of reincarnation itself. But thinking about Brenda's question, how would you answer this one?
Yeah, interesting question. Sometimes, I don't know if this is answering you, but I've thought about that. I've thought, well, if somebody passes away and then they reincarnate and they have loved ones who still want to hear from them, I've sometimes thought that maybe spirit people will put a spokesperson in so that the person who's, shall we say, grieving, their needs are met. That was one thought that I've had. I'm not an expert in the subject in any way, shape, or form, but yeah. So to put a different slant on it, I would say if somebody has passed away, they've reincarnated, they've still got immediate family here, then a spokesperson will come in and help fill that gap. Yeah. I
I
hope
like that.
that's
And Brenda said exactly, Jeff. She was agreeing with you, and she was happy with the answer that we gave. Brenda, I have a communicator for you. I believe you'd understand a lady in the spirit world. She's claiming to know you. She's claiming to be your family. She's given me the letter J, and I feel like the letter J would be significant between you and the communicator, but not necessarily her name. J is for me, J for Julie, Juliet. Is the noise. My mum is Jackie. She was a mum, and I think that she was taking me to that J because this woman is claiming to be your family. She's a mother. She's a mum's side of the family. I was born in September 29th, if anyone wants to send me a birthday card, but she was taking me to an anniversary in autumn, I think not far off my birthday on September the 29th. You'd understand the significance of that J. She is passed with a cancerous type condition, this woman, Brenda, that says she knows you. And as she links in with me, she talks about the fact that she wants to commend you for showing great moral courage. There has been a scenario very, very recently, and in the last she keeps about 5, 5, 5. It's in 5 days or 5 weeks, no longer than that. I don't want to even go back 5 months, where you have, she just said to me, poked your nose in where you didn't have to, but it was absolutely for the right reasons, and it's added huge value, Brenda. She tells me that you got involved because you saw that someone wasn't being treated fairly, would have been easy to have done nothing, and you've got involved because it was the right thing to do. There was almost no value for you individually, but there was value in that scenario. And that's what she's saying. She commends you. She's very, very proud of you. Josephine, you understand the name there. You'd understand a lady like your sister-in-law that would make that sense. So thank you for that verification, Brenda. She sends you a love, and she's very, very proud of you. But Jeff, anything you'd like to ask for Brenda?
Yeah, I thought you or someone around you might have trouble with their leg, and may have hurt it, and it's on the mend. And there was a lady in the spirit world. So I feel she was tall. I don't know if Josephine was known as Joe as well, but a tall, very slim lady, and I feel she would have smoked a lot. And you know how it's not the fashion to smoke anymore. And this person, maybe people weren't smoking. This person carried on for a good while and liked a good puff. Very deep person, very thoughtful, and very considerate, and considered their own actions as well as being a good observer of other people as well. I think they're a good people watcher. Yeah, and you or someone around you. This is a bit got an interest in martial arts. If not martial arts, I'm going to give you a Chinese, or both. I'm going to give you a Chinese guide because I feel I've got an influence, that sort of Asian Oriental influence. Yeah, I definitely feel you've got a Chinese guide because I feel the Chinese guide is coming in. Now, I don't know if you've got a memory as well of I've got, you know, the Chinese, was it Chinese or Japanese? But I've got a nice little teapot. And I know somebody had an unusual teapot. I don't know if this is around you now, or it's what I call a calling card of one of your relatives, which is sometimes how I work. Yeah, so the Chinese guide and the teapot kind of fits in. So I feel I get energy off that. Hope that's okay for you. Thank you very much. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Some nice evidence there, Jeff, and she was just giving us confirmation that made sense.
You're welcome.
And she was talking about her brother's leg. And thank you, Brenda, for asking us that question. Glad we answered it. I'm glad you understand your communicator. We're trying to do some rapid fire stuff today, folks, because of the technical problems going live. We're pleased for you being here tonight. Brenda's going to Vietnam. And she was just giving verification for that. Yeah, lovely. Keep the questions coming, folks. We're probably we ordinarily would stop now for adverts going a little bit live, but if it's okay, Richard, we'll carry on for a little while longer. We'll do the adverts towards the end. Great, thank you. Okay, Mo May says, Jeff, how can you do a reading from which flower a person picks from a tray of flowers? Oh, it's incredible. So I'll let you answer that first, Jeff, and I've got an opinion as well because I do flower readings. You may remember Jill Hay, who was my circle leader, used to do flower readings. And before you answer, so that I've recently reintroduced Holy Communion as part of our divine service a couple of times a year at Wimbledon, now an ordained minister. And one of the things I was talking to my dad about was my fond memories of that being the monthly flower service. You might remember my nan and granddad, and everyone would turn up with flowers in memory of a loved one. So when I first did that, I actually did some flower readings that day, but I remember how lovely it was when people used to turn up with flowers and the whole of the church altar would be covered in those live flowers. So I'll let you answer Mo's question, and then I'll give my sort of opinion of it, and then if you'd like to then give Mo a bit of a read, and I'll come in and add to the end of yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the question, Mo. Well, when a person picks a flower and they put it on a tray, the medium doesn't know which, whose flower it is. So you are literally only concentrating and focusing on the energy that's been put into the flower. As flowers are like the height of the plant's energy, if you like, their moment, I feel I might, dressing it up, but I just feel it's the height of the energy, and it's a high energy, put it that way. And plants are very absorbent, and everybody loves flowers, and it's such a positive energy, so it evokes that great positivity in the person that's picking the flower. At the end of the day, it's psychometry. Psychometry is picking up information from an object, and it's for the medium to focus their mind. So you can focus your mind on anything. I just think myself, it's a wonderful thing, also because I'm a gardener, that you do it with flowers. So when I pick up the flower, sometimes it's just a different way of reading with your clairvoyance. The energy can just emanate to me and things appear in my mind. I can feel things. I'm still using the clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. And through that vibration as well, the spirit person can come through. And so I hope that answers your question. I love it myself. I think it's a nice, positive, uplifting way of working. Thanks for asking.
Like, really good. So I'll just give my slight opinion on that while you pick up a link for and yeah, I mean, I agree actually with everything that Jeff has said. One of the things that a couple of my circle leaders have said, I think both Mary Dixie, who's working tonight, Christine Woodham, who was my first circle leader, is like, in theory, almost anything can act as a tool or as a conduit for you to understand, what it is your guides are picking up. And of course, as Jeff said, you when you're touching things, you're creating energy. You can read energy from things because it all contains atoms and it all contains energy, and it's all on that sort of thing. And then living sort of consciousness, animals and stuff, they all have that sort of aura as well. And one of the things I do, almost like I'm doing with the cards tonight, I'm shuffling the cards and I'm asking to be inspired, is when I pick up the flower, I'm sort of almost reading the flower in a way I would read a journey stick. So I mentioned a guy called Jim Tucker and the Sandbay DVDs. Jim Tucker spoke about, as kids in sort of Native American Indian times may have collected souvenirs on a sort of day out and created a bit of like a scrapbook we would do now with photos, a little stick of their journey, and they would tie the things they'd found, a feather and stuff, and how you could then read the journey stick, or the journey stick would grow with children over a sort of period of time. And he sort of learned, by learning how to then read my own stick and my own journey, and watching him do that is something I did a few times with his wife, Pollyanna Boothby. And with flowers, it was just sort of picking them up and, being inspired. And sometimes, a physical thing of the flower. So the flower might go off and it might have a leaf, and I might see two things on the leaf. And Spirit then say to me on my guides, well, that too is really significant, Ash. You need to understand that that's why we're showing you that bit of the leaf. Or look how the leaf or the branch was broken and has come off or has been cut. So I think that I use the flowers like a tool, but I'm, again, with any time you work with spirit, I feel it's like I'm surrendering to spirit and I'm getting them to guide me in the direction. I say, Jeff, you do a very great job of reading with flowers, but I've seen you do that from the imprint with sand or with water. And I think that the way you sort of describe the way you do that with flowers sort of shows to people that, you know, our energy imprint or our sort of life force, I think, can imprint on objects. So it's really important. I was talking to someone today at a soft play. I was out with my 2-year-old, and I was explaining that, you know, she was asking a little bit about reincarnation. I was saying, if you accept the fact that a biology, I'm doing a lot of my GCSE science actually today, but 1999 GCSE science, that the life force of a man and a sperm, the life force of a lady with the egg, those two life forces coming together, and then the spirit being energy, that for me is how I understand that sort of that creation. And I think that the more I've understood about, you know, chakras and life force, when my wife started breastfeeding, I learned that there was chakra around the nipple, and that actually breastfeeding was not just about giving the baby milk, but there was an element of the mother's life force going through that breastfeeding. When we lay our healing hands on, chakras through the hands, when we use our sort of heads in a sort of chakras. And of course, when we sit in circle, you talk about the 5 or 6, you know, main sort of chakras and how you open them up. But I believe there are hundreds, almost like energy portals across the body. And I guess that although flowers don't have a consciousness in the same way that we have an intelligence and animals do, I guess that they are living in the sense that they are living energy, and they're a living thing, and therefore part of that creative energy. Is that sort of right, Jeff? And I know I'm asking you a double question there, but does that sort of make sense? Have I got that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I love the bit about the mother's love through the milk stroke nipple. Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much. I'll let you give a little reading for Mo. Mo, I'll add something to Jeff's, and then we'll take our next question. But yeah, great. Really, I think we've got into some lovely subjects tonight.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, Mo, number 10 would mean something to you. It could be living at house number 10 or the 10th month. And I don't know if you had a step parent or somebody, or you're a step parent yourself, but I get the energy of somebody who was very much a self-contained child. Like I'm one of 5. So I don't know if you're an only child or had that feeling about being an only child as well. But there's somebody in the spirit world who wants to draw close, because I just wanted to say I'm just getting the beginnings of it. You're my angel. So I know there's a lot of love. This is either mother or grandmother. And I know you miss her and she misses you. But there's been some communication between the two of you. You must have felt her around you recently. Yeah. There's also a lovely dog in the spirit world that has a lot of love for you as well. And 10 is my mother's birthday. Oh, good, Anna. Because I just wanted to say 10. I just wasn't sure where to put her. Anyway, and so she's also was somebody a stepchild or a step parent? Anyway, I'm not supposed to ask questions, am I? Now, they just did the ironing for me, so I know that in the spirit world they're doing their best. They can't live your life for you, but they're doing their best to smooth things out for you. They're doing what they can, and so I know you've got that lovely link, that lovely bond there with the spirit world. Thank you very much.
Nice one. Thanks, Jeff. And Mo, just to add to that, that I had both arrogance and pride. And I was asking why I was hearing those words, and I heard also determination. And I feel that there has been an element of arrogance which you've had to overcome. I don't think this is your arrogance. I think you'd understand a scenario. There's a lady that's been behaving in a very arrogant way, and that pride has sort of almost acted as a barrier for them behaving in a better way. But I sort of had this sense of defense. I was fortifying you. I was putting you in some sort of fortified position, helping with your resilience, because not just a new chapter, but a new season, Mo, is what I sort of picked up with that. Stability going forwards and achievement that you were getting through this new season, new opportunities, but you'd overcome that. You'd dealt with barriers put up by someone's sort of pride getting in the way of arrogance. So hope that would make sense. Mo's also giving me verification there, Jeff, definitely a dog. So thank you, Mo, for asking your question. I hope that all makes sense for you. And keep your questions coming, folks. So you're taking us off in lots of lovely directions this evening. We'll try and answer as many questions as we can. And I think we're going a little bit longer as we start a little bit late, folks. Ordinarily, we'd be finished by about 9:15, but we'll probably go on for another sort of 10, 15 minutes if that's okay, folks. If you keep asking us questions, we'll keep trying to answer them and giving you our blended opinion. Nice that some of the Wimbledon Wombles congregation have come out to watch on YouTube and Facebook tonight as well. So people that both know me and Jeff. And you'd have to think about his mediumship workshop. I'll be advertising that very shortly over the autumn. So Elaine Grout, lovely medium that I certainly know. I think you've met Elaine, Jeff, as well. Probably it's one of the spiritual weekends.
I have. I met her at Stratford-upon-Avon.
Yeah, so
lovely.
nice to hear from you, Elaine.
We went picking flowers together.
Lovely. Elaine says, soul groups. Do you think that spirit wait to complete the group before they move to another level, then either reincarnate or become a guide for someone down here? Think you get what I mean? Yeah, I absolutely do. Elaine, I was actually talking about the concept of soul groups today, and I was talking to, I won't reveal too much about the people because I don't have their permission, but there was a younger lady who's a slightly older partner. They've had a child together, and we were talking about the concept of destiny. And I said, look, I think that some of the big things in our life are perhaps subject to destiny. And I spoke to her. She's much younger than me, and I said, imagine Netflix. Okay, so for those of you that stream sort of videos and stuff, you've got a bit of a library. I think that there's an equivalent sort of Netflix library in heaven, and if you're choosing to incarnate, you've got the opportunity to go into that Netflix library and think, right, where would I like to incarnate to on planet Earth? Which country? Do I want a bit of sun? Do I want a bit of snow? Temperature? And you have an element of choosing your parents, choosing perhaps your identity, whether or not you want to be a man or a woman, or a boy or a girl, you want to be in a rich family, poor family. And actually you might choose relatively sort of easygoings to begin with in your first sort of conception. You might come back and do it tens of thousands of times and choose much harder lives. And some of those big things are therefore meant to be. And I spoke about the fact that her and her partner may have decided to incarnate, and he just got on the first bus. There was a bus going. He said, I'll jump on this one now. I'll see you again in 10 years. And actually knew that they were destined to be together. And I think that there is definitely that concept of soul groups. I think that some of my children now, who I know chose me as parents, I believe that there may have been a role where I was in a previous life, perhaps their child. I think that my brothers, sisters, mums, dads certainly can stay within family groups and perhaps swap. I think husbands and wives can swap gender and become wives and husbands. I think that you might have had a life where you were a man loving a woman, you come back and you become a man loving a man, just to experience it from a different sort of point of view. You love who you want to love. I also think that gender is very much something which is influenced on you during this incarnation, and that the soul probably starts genderless, which again, certainly within the sort of spiritual sense, we talk about the love being love, and you love the person and the personality. Biologically speaking, we know you need the biology of a sort of man and woman to sort of make a baby, but actually science is sort of catching up with that too. So yeah, I think that some people do. And I think they go as groups, and I think like Netflix, they just keep changing up the properties, and they go for something maybe a bit more faster, a bit slower, a bit harder, a bit easier, and that you can keep going back and having similar experiences in different ways. And just imagine the configuration options. My friend Ralph Steadman used to talk about the fact that just imagine you could only choose six. You could choose six things. You could choose gender. You could choose, region of Earth. You could choose whether or not it was going to be rich or poor, and if you're going to die young or old. Just imagine you could only change that. And he put it into a calculator, and he said to keep changing just those six things, you may be looking at hundreds, if not thousands, of combinations to have a different experience just by changing that. And he said, of course, perhaps you can choose more than six. Perhaps you can choose 60, 600. Maybe you can choose up to 6,000 things that can be part of your life, which might explain why people do it as tens of thousands of times. And as groups, if you enjoy that identity and that personality, you look to do it again. And I think that if we go back to that question we had earlier on when people were talking about the fact that, is it just the personalities, a bit of the personality stay and the soul goes and does it again? Experiencing itself through different things, I think would make more sense. Again, plain English, I think the idea of the personalities in the groups just said, yeah, let's go back and do it again. This time I'll be a man, you be a woman. Next time, you'll be the one that gets knocked unconscious when we're in that boxing fight. I think all of it's possible. Yeah, great question, Elaine. Jeff, I went on for a bit there. I waffled. Apologies. What do you think about that one?
Well, I think that God has a plan. Our souls have a plan. Um, not everything happens for a reason, but a huge amount of things happen for a reason. And personally, I've had a lot of synchronicity in my life, but I've also had a lot of, shall we say, clashes in my life as well. So when it's synchronicity, it's usually the soul is in harmony with the universe. And speaking from my own experience, I've seen my sort of lifetime guide just the once, and I've been told, you know, he was there with you when you were born, and he'll be there when you die, and so he would have chosen to be my guide, I guess. And so it's, I have to say, I haven't really given it a lot of thought about soul groups. I remember a teacher once talking about people coming in on different rays. So, like a teaching ray, a parent ray would be for most people, but you know, they're all different qualities. So you could put that under the banner of soul groups as well, I guess.
Yeah.
And you know, I think we're all here for a purpose, and to have that individual drive, unique drive within each and every one of us, which is so valuable to each and every soul, that it nourishes itself and fulfills its destiny that it was here to do. And I feel that by following your intuition and your spiritual, what you call it, your instincts, I guess, you can't really go far wrong. And certainly, if you are, life will certainly give you a slap and put you in the right direction anyway. Or so I found. I hope that slightly answers your question, Eileen.
Yeah, that was a good answer. And my friend Ralph Steadman, who now resides in that world of spirit world, who sort of chairs my executive committee of philosophers, just reminded me of something. He said, I didn't answer your question fully. He was reminding me about levels. So you were saying, you know, about progression. So as a spiritualist, and certainly as a Wimbledon spiritualist, one of my principles is I believe that there is a pathway of progress open to us all. Now, in plain English, Elaine and folks, if you imagine that planet Earth, human being experience is the third dimension or the third level, I think that our personality goes through a bit of a limbo corridor, which I would describe as the fourth dimension. When I'm working as a medium and I talk about my waiting room, some of you would have heard me talk about that. I feel that it's like that's the fourth dimension where I'm able to attune to, and that's where my spirit friends and guides influence me the easiest in the fourth dimension. But that heaven, or that place I call heaven, the spirit realm, the afterlife, I think that you go from the third through the fourth to something I recognize as like the fifth level, the fifth dimension. Now, what I've always been told, and Ralph is reminding me of that this evening, is that you cannot progress further upwards, onwards, with anything negative. It's only positive. It's all about unconditional love and light. And depending on how you live your life, again, as spiritualists, we talk about the fact that there is a cause and effect, and you answer for everything you've done, every decision you've made, for every act of kindness, of unconditional love, for every act of evil or negativity, that carries with you. Some people describe that as a bit of a karma. And Ralph used to describe it as a karmatic debt. And you might get to some point within the fourth and fifth dimension where you want to get it up higher, and you realize you're unable to progress any further until you get rid of some of that karmatic debt. And maybe you do that by being a guide in the spirit world and dedicating someone's earthly experience, you as their angel, walk them through it. Maybe you deliberately choose a harder earthly experience to work off some of that karmatic debt and get some of the more sort of positive, negative to come back. And depending on how many lives you've lived, perhaps negative lives, perhaps you might have a lot of negative karmatic debt. But yeah, there is this pathway of progression open to all of us. I think that once you progress upwards, you can very, very quickly, almost immediately, be anywhere you want. Because I think in the spirit world, all you need to do is think, and you can be there, unlike the physical conditions of this earth. So you don't have to think about it as like escalators and lifts and having to move. I just think that there's almost like different levels of vibrations, and that my plain English, my simple mind just imagines it as that. I know that someone might then go and say, well, how many dimensions are there? The honest answer is, I don't know. Within my own guide team, I talk of at least 12. I think about this as in the sort of third dimension. I always ask them, well, what's the first and second? All I'm told is denser, slower, negative, darker, perhaps. And people, oh, is that why we think about heaven as higher and hell as low because of the negativity and the lower level of vibration? Quite possible. It could be hundreds or thousands. I know that Jesus, the teacher, used to talk about God. He used to talk about his Father, our Father. He used to talk about there being a house with many mansions, and I think that's all part of those levels and dimensions there. So I don't know if did we read for Elaine as well, Jeff?
Not yet, no.
Okay, like quick reading for you. I've drawn the card of the Inquirer, number 1 in my deck. Questions to be answered, and you are at the center of the maze. So I figure at the center of the puzzle, Elaine. And all I want to say is, like, you've already got there, you've already achieved. Even though you feel like you've got to get through this maze to the other end, to the finish line, you are delivery focused. But take a step back and realize you're at the center of the maze, and actually, therefore, the experience of getting to the middle is already achieved. Stop, take that moment, look over your shoulder, look how far you've already come, keep asking questions, work out where you want to exit the maze and when you want to come back to it. That's what I just wanted to say for you, Elaine. Jeff, anything for Elaine?
Yeah, I'd just say I feel you've got Irish blood somewhere in the family, because I'm just seeing cloverleaf. And I don't know if you're a bit low in iron or someone around you is pregnant, but I just wanted to drink a pint of Guinness as well. Now, I got a little dog there as well, so I'm not sure if that's around you now or in spirit world, but I know, or could be both, but I know that there was a nice little dog. And somebody used to put, you know how they put the cloths over the dog in the winter, like a little jacket, that sort of thing. So I know this dog was very much part of the family. Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you. Yeah, great question. Look forward to seeing you soon, Elaine. So yeah, last couple of questions now, folks. Get them in. Our producer will try and select some at random and some of the good questions. If we've not answered your questions tonight, perhaps on Facebook, head over to the SPTV fan page group and connect with and interact with other members of the virtual congregation. Always, treat people with an element of suspicion. Every now and then we get members befriending each other, which is absolutely fine. I've got lots of friends that I've met on virtually, but just make sure they are who they claim to be. SPTV UK will never contact you direct, and we will never ask for money, either are we as mediums, not unless you're booking like a private paid for service. So just remember that, but head over to SPTV fan page, and you can also find me at Ash Robinson Medium. That's at Ash Robinson Medium across all the social media channels. Jeff, you're on some of the social media channels. Do you use that for your spiritual work as well?
Facebook. I'm on Facebook, and that's more just a. Sorry, do I use it to work? Did you say?
Yeah, as in, like, could people contact you on there if they, if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, I had somebody contact me the other day. I've got to get back, and that was a first. But yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. And otherwise, folks, if you've got other follow-up questions for Jeff Hewitt, either head over to my page and leave them there at Ash Robinson Medium or at Wimbledon Spirit, where Jeff is one of our tutors and workshop leaders. You're about to say something there, Jeff.
I was going to say hello to Julie, who's posted up a question.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've read out most of the questions. You read out Julie's question, and then you can be the first to answer it, and then I'll come in and answer after you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Yeah, hi, Julie. Julie's question is, I've tried meditation with music and sitting quiet, sat in circles, done quite well, but just seem I cannot progress. How do I progress, please? Well, as I said, Julie, I was a forever student. I was in classes for years and years and years and years and years, and I felt like people came and they went and were mediums and this, that, and the other. And I just loved it. So I just persevered and I loved it. And I got so much pleasure out of it. And that enthusiasm just kept me going and going and going. And so I'd say, if you've got the interest there and just keep going. It's not all about necessarily becoming a medium. If that's what you really want, then just keep that focus in mind and keep going for that goal and don't give up. I feel group things are very good to keep you going as well, rather than trying to do it on your own or doing it alone at home. So joining the circle as you've been in, and as you've said you've done quite well. I'm sure you've done a lot better than you think, and you're probably your own worst critic. Most people are. So give yourself a pat on the back as well for your accomplishments that you have made, and keep on going. I hope that
I like
answers
that.
the
Yeah.
question.
Keep on keeping on. And my sister would be embarrassed, but I don't think she's watching the show tonight, but she used to call herself the psychic dud when we sat in circle with Jill Hay, because she just felt like she was never getting anything. And she wasn't progressing. I mean, she's a very accomplished person across all sorts of things now, including being a spiritual healer, crystal healer. She does some wonderful sort of counseling. She studied for 2 years to be a spiritual healer. And I think that in itself shows great dedication. Leslie Moulton and Danielle Edmonds, our sort of principal tutors. But I remember Jill saying to her one day, "Well, you're saying you're not progressing. What you're getting? Well, I'm getting nothing. Well, what is nothing? Oh, nothing. I'm black, or black is a color, actually. So let's understand what black means, because you're getting something. You're never getting nothing. And I think it's all about measuring progress. They say that the stuff that gets counted is the stuff that gets done. Work out what it is you want to count in terms of your progress, and perhaps like I said to someone a little while ago, look over your shoulder, see how far you've already come. I try and take spiritual advancement and development every day, as Jeff has just said, about being a daily student, always learning. Teaching is often a learning experience for me as well, but just keep doing what you're doing. And you need to fit into the circle as much as the circle needs to fit with you. So try and get in with your local church or center. There's some fantastic stuff online as well. Head over to My Spiritual Events, and SPTV UK has got a whole library of things on there. That's where I advertise, tickets for events at Wimbledon Spiritualist Church. But going on a development class, going on an open platform. If you're in London, head down to Wimbledon or one of the other sort of church churches for an open platform. You get advice from people like Phil Shaw that talk about sort of delivery, and just monitor your progress. It's an individual journey, and just forwards, and don't be afraid to take a sideways step, or even to take a couple of steps backwards in order to circumvent that barrier in order to get where you're going. But great question, Julie. And Jeff and I will give you a quick reading as well. Jeff, you got anything for Julie at the moment?
Yeah, hi there, Julie. I felt that there was a lady in the spirit world who passed away with a cancerous condition, and I feel that she's drawn close. I'm not saying it's her name, but I feel that you would know. I thought it was Joan. Could be Joe, but I felt like I wanted to give you the name of Joan. And they're telling me that you are going to see more, because they just said Seymour, as in the surname Seymour. But I realised they're just having a joke and that's saying see more. So that's nice. And I don't know if you like butterflies. They're a symbol of transformation, of course. So either you've got one on your fridge, or you've got one that your Aunt Jane, good, and or one's flown and landed on your phone very close. I feel that's a sort of spirit way of saying we're around you as well, and you are going to get that transformation that you're looking for. And they're telling me as well the age-old thing about the tortoise. I think somebody did have a tortoise. You'd know of somebody who had a tortoise. But they're saying, look, it's good to be the tortoise, because remember, the tortoise won the race, not the hare. So slow is good. Yeah. So there we are. Thank you, Julie.
Absolutely. And I was just sort of collective consciousness tapping into the end of that communication to say, you're absolutely on the path you're meant to be. Feel that pull of the piece of elastic pulling you along, Julie, and go for it. Now, I was being told about establishing or re-establishing the relationship you have with your guide team, and do some testing with them. And I was being encouraged for you to do some more automatic sort of writing. So in part of you redefining your relationship with your guide team, Julie, I was being told that you could write questions on a notepad, keep it by the side of your bed, and then when you wake up in the morning, answer them. Just answer the first thing that comes to your mind. You'll feel like you're answering the questions, because you are. It won't be a physical phenomena in terms of them writing the pen for you, but you will be inspired to write the answers, is what I'm being told. So keep asking questions, keep developing that relationship with your guide team, and then set parameters for them in terms of what you want and how you want it. And Julie, that was for you. lovely message there from Jeff, and I think you've understood that. So, folks, we've come to the end of the show now. It's been fantastic. I've loved having my friend Jeff on the show tonight. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us and persevering with some of the technical
Oh, no, it's my
problems.
pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. My pleasure. Thank you.
Be great to have you. Grateful to Richard, our producer, for pulling it all together, and
Thank
you, the
Richard.
lovely family of SPTV, both on Facebook and YouTube. We're very grateful for your time and your energy. And Jeff, any closing words?
Closing words is believe in yourself. If you want to develop, then just keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. I think that is very much the theme of tonight, folks. Sending you all some love and some light, and I think it's across the world, but certainly in the UK at the moment, we're celebrating sort of Pride Month, and I want to continue to celebrate that. I saw something from another medium friend, Jason, the other day, and he sort of said, you know, in a strange way, he hopes that anyone that's homophobic feels really uncomfortable, particularly uncomfortable this month. And I thought, as a spiritual way of saying that we are going to celebrate love, we're going to celebrate life, and it's an exciting time of the year in order to be able to do that. But sending you all some love and light. Good night from Jeff. Good night from Richard and SPTV. Good night from me. I've been your host, Ashley Robinson. Good night. God bless. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.